Hello again. We're on page 201 of Christianity and the Social Crisis, Walter Rauschenbusch. As he closes his chapter, The Work of Social Reconstruction, this section is about the passing of the causes that caused Christianity to deflect from its original vitality and its revolutionary nature. The change that the West, at least, has undertaken in the last couple of hundred years that makes some of those causes no longer of effect. He says, the sadness of the failure hitherto is turned into brightest hopefulness if we note that all the causes which have hitherto neutralized the social efficiency of Christianity have strangely disappeared or weakened in modern life. Christianity has shed them as an insect sheds its old casing in passing through its metamorphosis, and with the disappearance of each of these causes, Christianity has become fitter to take up its regenerative work. Let us run over the causes of failure set forth in this chapter and note how they have weakened or vanished. In the Roman Empire, as we have seen, social agitation would have been suppressed promptly. Today, it still encounters the moral resentment of the classes whose interests are endangered by a moral campaign, and, if necessary, these interests are able to use the political machinery to suppress agitation. But in the freer countries of Western civilization, the dissemination of moral ideas is almost untrammeled. The prophet's message still brings the prophet's odium, but a man will have to go far if he wants to be stoned or put in the stocks. Primitive Christianity did not work for social changes which required a long outlook because it expected the immediate return of Christ. That the return of Christ will end the present world is still part of general Christian teaching, but the actual lapse of 19 centuries has proved so plainly that we have to reckon with long reaches of time that this expectation deters very few from taking a long look ahead in all practical affairs. There are indeed a number of Christian bodies and a great number of individuals who have systematized the apocalyptic ideas of later Judaism and early Christianity and have made them fundamental in their religious thought. They are placing themselves artificially in the attitude of mind which primitive Christianity took naturally. They are among the most devout and earnest people. By their devotional and missionary literature, they exert a wide influence. They share with splendid vigor in evangelistic work because evangelism saves individuals for the coming of the Lord, and in foreign missionary work because it is an express condition that the Lord will not return until the gospel has been preached to all nations. They take a lively interest in the destructive tendencies of modern life because these are signs of the times which herald the end, but they do not feel called to counteract them. Such an effort would be predestined to failure because the present world is doomed to rush through increasing corruption to moral bankruptcy, and Christ alone by his coming can save it. Historical pessimism is generally woven into the texture of this pattern of thought, and it is this pessimistic interpretation of history, more than the somewhat academic expectation of the immediate return of Christ, which neutralizes the interest of this school of thought in comprehensive moral reformation. And of course he's alluding here to the growth of premillennial dispensationalism in the very generations when Rauschenbusch was growing up and writing this book. So far as the influence of this drift goes, it is a dead weight against any effort to mobilize the moral forces of Christianity to share in the modern social movement. This is all the more pathetic because these men have a nobler ingredient of social hope for humanity than ordinary Christians. But outside of this sphere of thought, the hope of the immediate millennium, which was once so influential, is no longer a factor to deter Christians from their wider mission to society. This is very interesting because he writes this in 1907, right on the edge of dispensationalism's taking over at least the evangelical world of North America. So he couldn't have known that this would be even more of a problem than he already saw it as being in his day. He goes on, the primitive attitude of fear and distrust toward the state has passed away. We do not regard the existing civilization and its governments as hostile to Christianity. before World War One, and the taking over the Soviet Union, Russia by the Soviet Union, and Marxism. The ancient feeling that demon powers inspired the state has vanished with the belief in demons. Some today regard the state as the organization of secular life, which, though in a sphere apart from religion, is good and useful in its way. Others take the more religious view of it, that it is one of the divinely constituted factors to train the race for the kingdom of God, of equal dignity with the family and the church. Under either conception, it is possible to cooperate with it and turn the regenerative moral power of religion into the channels of organized civil life. The otherworldliness of Christian desire is strangely diminished. We all believe in immortality, but we are not weary of this world. The longing to die and go to heaven is not regarded as a test of spiritual life, as it used to be, even within the memory of many of us. To us, salvation means victory over sin rather than escape from hell. This change of attitude dignifies the present life. It is not, then, too paltry for earnest effort. The hope of personal salvation after death no longer monopolizes the Christian hope. There is now room beside it for the social hope. One does wonder whether Rauschenbusch's optimism would have been sustained had he seen the effects of the last century upon the Christian world. And of course, he didn't survive the World War I era. Some think that his death was actually sped up by the response to his German-American heritage in the wake, of course, of the blame game that went on about the causes of World War I. I'll put a link into Leon Morris's discussion of the nature of apocalyptic, this apocalyptic view that Rauschenbusch has sympathy towards because he realizes it's akin to ancient Christianity, but seems negative towards in his evaluation of its deleterious effects upon the effects of on the impact of Christianity upon modern life.